before we begin, a couple people I want to recognize. The mayor is here, Mayor Jeff Wagner. Thank you for coming out. My assistant chiefs, Jerry Wright, Rick Styron, Lieutenant M.P. Jackson's in the back, and Lieutenant James Holt right here. Thank you all for coming. Like I say every time I do this, there's a couple things that I get to do as a chief that are really a lot of fun and really rewarding, and this is one of those things as a promotion. Academy graduations are another, and so are retirements. One thing about our department, we have 40 sergeants, and before I came down here, I was looking at some of the numbers and the stats, and what I found was a third of our sergeants have less than 3 years as a sergeant, which might scare some chiefs. It actually excites me quite a bit because new ideas, we got some young people turning over, and so it's always good to have a mix of senior folks, some of the less tenured folks, and some of those in the middle. And so it's exciting for me that you're going to be one of the new folks that are coming. You're going to evening shift. Before I get too far along, I'd be remiss not to recognize your family because there's a lot of sacrifices. Anybody that's ever taken any of the promotional exams knows how much goes into studying to put yourself in a position that you are today to be getting promoted. So, I want to thank your wife and your kids for allowing you to devote the time that you needed to study to prepare yourself to be standing here today. Because I know there's a lot of sacrifices, probably some things that you missed with your wife and your kids, and so thank you for allowing him to do that. One of the quotes that I like to use a lot about leadership is this: the challenge of leadership is to be strong but not rude, be kind but not weak, be bold but not a bully, be thoughtful but not lazy, be humble but not timid, be proud but not arrogant, have humor but without folly. And Jim Rohn said that. And that really captures it because to me, being a leader is so many different things. And, if you Google definition of leadership, you're going to find 484,000 definitions that are out there because it just means so many different things to so many different people. And one of the things that you're going to find, or well, hopefully you find, is you're going to work harder than you worked before. You worked hard in financial crimes, I know that. But being a supervisor is a different kind of work, and you should work harder than you've worked ever before. The other thing I often say is sergeants have the most difficult job in the organization. I also believe that you have the most influence in the organization. Day in, day out, sergeants, first-line supervisors are the ones that are interacting with line-level personnel, and so you do have a lot of influence. The higher you climb, the more accountability and responsibility is going to put on your shoulders. There's a lot of challenges. I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat it and say that's all going to be, unicorns and rainbows every day as being a sergeant, because as you push and you challenge your people, not everyone's going to be willing to hop on board. You're always going to have your critics. There's this quote: the only way to avoid criticism, do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. And I hope that you don't do any of those things. I hope that you push people. I hope that you challenge people. And one of the things that you're going to find at the end is that people are going to have a lot more respect for you when you do push them and you challenge them. And I think one of the hardest things, I think you and I have talked about it, and you've heard me talk about it when I talk about leadership is, especially being on a shift with 6 other sergeants, you have 5 other sergeants, 5 other personalities, 5 other ways of doing things, and to hold the line and hold the course and do what you think is right is sometimes a challenge. So I'm going to challenge you to, continue to do what you believe is right. Going to evening shift, I know the hours aren't the most ideal. There's going to be sacrifices, on behalf of your family, but I'm going to tell you this. I think that evening shift is probably one of the most rewarding shifts as a supervisor, particularly as a new supervisor. Generally speaking, that's where a lot of the junior folks go, the less tenured folks go. And so you're going to have people that are craving that leadership, that direction, and you're going to get to really see the fruits of your labor, when your folks go out there and they're going to make you proud because you're going to do that because I know that you're going to give them the leadership they need. And then recognition. I talk about this a lot because to me that's important. People want to be recognized for a job well done, and cops all the time talk about, oh, I don't need the recognition, but the reality is we all like recognition. We all like to be praised for a job well done. It may be as simple as recognizing somebody in roll call. Bringing somebody in the office and saying a kind word. It goes a long way. Dale Carnegie once said, "People work for money, but go the extra mile for recognition, praise, and rewards." and that means a lot. You know, you recognize people for doing a good job. And so I'm really excited for you. I'm going to read your bio, and then we'll allow your wife to come up here and pin your badge. Richard was born in March of 1986 to his mother Patricia Thornton and late father Richard Arthur Thornton. He grew up in Pasadena and graduated a year early from Deer Park High School in 2003. Must be smart. He attended the University of Houston and San Jacinto Community College, where he obtained an Associate of Applied Science in Firefighting and another in Emergency Medical Technology. From 2006 through 2011, Richard was a volunteer firefighter with the Pasadena Fire Department and responded to calls for service from Fire Station 8 on Space Center Boulevard. In 2007, he got smart and he decided to come to the police department. And he was a part-time PSO, or police service officer, and in 2009 he began working for the West University Place Fire Department as a firefighter and a paramedic. In February of 2012, Richard was accepted in the 66 Pasadena Police Academy. After graduating the academy, he was assigned to evening shift patrol, where he was tasked as a field training officer after 2 years of service. Richard was awarded with the Police Department's Distinguished Service Award and later with a Warrior Award from the Texas Municipal Police Association for his efforts to rescue a citizen from a house fire in November of 2016. In early 2018, Richard was transferred to the Financial Crimes Division, where he's been a detective for a year and a half. In that time, he's worked approximately 200 investigations involving forgery, identity theft, card skimming devices, and tax fraud. At home, Richard enjoys spending his time with his wife, Kristen, son, Rylan, daughter, Bailey, mother, Patricia, grandmother, Ann, and dog, Lola. He also spends his free time cooking, barbecuing, which I might add is pretty good because I had some Friday, hunting, gardening, and playing outside with his kids. And you know, before I call Kristen up here, one thing about Richard has been determined to become a supervisor. We were just talking up here before we began, and one of the things, so last year, because it's a competitive exam, raw score, seniority points, all of those things, last year when Richard tested, Richard had the highest raw score, but he didn't have all the seniority points, and so I say that hurt you, that didn't get you to the top because you were missing some of the seniority points, but you still had the highest raw score. And he ended up dying number one on the list. And that didn't deter him. He came back, worked just as hard this time to study and get back up on the list. And it's paid off because you're being promoted today. So I do appreciate all your hard work, and I hope that you continue that on evening shift and onto your as you continue your career as a supervisor here. So call your wife Kristen up here to pin your badge. Don't stick him too hard. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Sergeant Richard Thornton to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Chief. You know, I was getting ready for today, and it was kind of bittersweet. I remember like it was yesterday whenever we were in the academy, and we were kind of gearing up to get ready for the day, and we all had to make sure there was no loose threads, or, you know, our shoes were shined, and everything just looked perfect. And if we didn't, you know, Steve Brown would have made sure that we knew about it. He would have dished out some push-ups for us, and so it just seems like I blinked from that point to here, and it's incredible how fast it all went. So I can only imagine for other officers and supervisors, you know, that are in their 20th or 30th year, how that must seem as well. It just goes by that fast. So to get to this point, obviously I had to rely on a lot of great people. You know, first and foremost, I want to thank God for putting us here today. My dad and my grandpa up in heaven looking down over us. My wife, my mom, my grandma, my kids. Thank you for all that y'all did, you know, sacrificing and shuffling around schedules. Of course, Chief Ruger, the administration, thank you for y'all's support. Mayor Wagner and the city councilmen, all the administration. I know there's a lot of disagreement that occurs within the city. We're all, you know, Democratic, but the one thing that's always been steadfast is public safety. So thank you for that, sir. I really wanted to make sure my prior FTOs knew that they were going to be recognized. You know, if it wasn't for them, I think I would have had a different path. So starting out great was I owe a lot to them. So the last thing I'll say is my hopes for being a supervisor is to pay it forward. You know, I had a lot of great opportunity in this department. I've had a lot of great mentors, a lot of great supervisors. And for me, having the ability to do that for another officer is my hopes and dreams for being a supervisor. So thank everybody who came out today, and I look forward to working alongside everybody. So thank you, sir.
So that's going to conclude the ceremony. I invite you to stick around, visit with Richard. There's plenty of cake and plenty of punch over there as well. And again, thank you all for coming out.